Hello again, my lovelies, and welcome back to another review from Through the Eyes of Enji, where we're trying to cover 101 films in 365 days to raise money for the Shoreby Village players, and we are with you. We Are With You Shropshire is a confidential service for young people and families affected by drugs and alcohol in Shropshire. Their work includes information, support and advice about drugs and alcohol, one-to-one support, group work, parent carer helpline, help to make decisions about lifestyle, links to other services, early intervention, and harm reduction. The Shoreby Village Players, if you've known me for any length of time, you're probably more than aware of the Shoreby Village Players. We are a community theatre group based out of, unsurprisingly, Shoreby. We'll do a bit of everything. We'll do your murder mysteries, we'll do your Shakespeare, we'll do your pantomimes. Anything you can think of, chances are we'll probably give it a go. If you've struggled with your mental health in the past, like I have, then you might appreciate as well as I do the impact it would have to lose something like the Shoreby Village Players, both to me personally and to the community at large. So, dig into your pockets, sponsor us a few quid. Don't put yourself down as anonymous when you're donating money. I want to thank you. And also, whoever's anonymously donated £2, thank you for evening out. And let me know what film you want me to do. I might like it, I might not like it, and I might be utterly and totally lost as to what I think of it. Much like how I felt with Death to Smoochy. So, Death to Smoochy, released in 2002, directed by Danny DeVito and written by Adam Resnick, starring Robin Williams as Rainbow Randolph, Edward Norton as Smoochy the Rhino, Catherine Keener as Nora Wells, Danny DeVito as Burke Bennett, and Vincent Schiavelli, I think it's pronounced, as Buggy Ding Dong. Storyline-wise, fired in disgrace, kids show host Randolph Smiley finds himself out on the street, while his replacement Sheldon Mopes finds himself on the fast track to success with a new hit show as the proud purple rhino Smoochy. But things take a turn for the worst when Sheldon finds out that some of the people he works with, and some he doesn't know he's working for, are all just in it for the money. Meanwhile, Randolph is slowly going insane, with his only thoughts focusing on killing Smoochy and getting back to his life of luxury. So this isn't a review of Willy's Wonderland, which is a shame, because you should really watch Willy's Wonderland. It's also not a review of Death Note, The Cabin in the Woods, Robocop, or Extraction, all of which are great films I've watched this weekend that you could probably check out instead of Death to Smoochy and have a much better time. Because Death to Smoochy is weird, and I'm still not actually sure whether I enjoyed it or not. What threw me was, for the first half an hour or so, there's no ifs and buts about it, Death to Smoochy is just awful. Right up until the moment when Smoochy is disgraced by appearing somewhere that he really, really shouldn't be. Which is a moment, by the way, which is one of the ballsiest holy shit moments in a comedy I've seen for a very long time. And it damn near knocked me out of my seat with laughter and shock, and is probably worth the price of entry on its own. For that first half hour, though, I wasn't laughing, except a few moments at Robin Williams, who at least seems to be having some fun. And it just feels like a story I've seen before. But then the incident previously mentioned happens, and the film starts to pick up a little bit. Probably should have mentioned beforehand, as before, I've said, this is a comedy, and comedies are notoriously hard to review. I'm not going to tell you all the best jokes, etc., etc. That being said, I kind of have to tell you one of the jokes because it just sums up how much I loathe Edward Norton's character of Sheldon and Smoochy. When I heard the first verse of "My stepdad's not bad, he's just misunderstood," I was starting to work out the logistics of loading a shotgun and locating the sadist who asked me to watch this particular film. The character is written and played as someone who you just desperately want to repeatedly slap in the face to bring them back to reality. And I don't know, I was watching and I wasn't enjoying it. Like with the final sequence of the film is in an ice rink, and it's the Smoochy on Ice show. Now, I thought the chase over the partially assembled Statue of Liberty and ballerina was just airdropped in from another film, but it turns out, 2 hours later, after watching that sequence, I was watching Death to Smoochy, and I was having the same reaction multiplied, because that feels like the opening sequence of Snake Eyes has been just dropped into this dark comedy. And Catherine Keener's character has a fetish for sleeping with the hosts of children's programs. I have no further comment on that information, but I just thought it was worth highlighting. So, with a film like this, which swings on the pendulum between momentously, horrifically awful and dark enough to tickle my funny bone at times, certainly makes it an interesting specimen to look at in a sterile lab environment. Because as a piece of entertainment, the film misses the point more often than not of not being entertaining. And yet, there's something about it, and I can't put my finger on it. This review's taken me all afternoon to try and put down how I think about the film into words, because I just can't decide whether it's just a bad film or not. The part of me that takes pleasure at tearing films apart, which, Siobhan, I'm looking directly at you for this, does not mean that I hate all films. But this part of me really does want to call Death to Smoochy a number of different names, to call it unpleasant or boring or badly written, just to name a few. But when we look at the film a little more closely, then the lines start to become a bit more visible. Because there's a cynical takedown of the cutthroat nature of children's entertainment business. Then it does start to make sense. There's a line halfway through from DeVito's character, and he says, "We're not looking at kids. We're looking at wallets with pigtails." And the most obvious part where this comes through is in Robin Williams, and you can see his own experience of this industry, with the cancellation of Mork and Mindy and his notorious falling out with Disney over the monetization of his performance as the genie, beginning to bleed through into his performance. And there's something manic, even more so than usual, with his performance, and it's so dark, and it just brutally reminded me of what a phenomenal talent we lost with Robin Williams. And then after the film finished, I was thinking about it later. And even now, about 2 weeks after I watched a week later, sorry, after I watched Death to Smoochy, I'm still thinking about it, and it's certainly stuck around in my head longer than any of the films I've watched so far. And the issue I seem to be having when deciding whether or not to recommend Death to Smoochy is I can't decide whether it's good because it's so bad, or whether it's actually good. I mean, looking at the film again, the subplots about making deals with the mob and the revenge story that is birthed from that, again, seems to have come out of nowhere, out of a longer, better film. Just like that utterly bizarre final scene. But there are pieces of the film that do slot into the right places. And, Edward Norton is a very charismatic and talented actor. So his naivety and innocence could just be in his performance rather than just how it's written. And I think the rub of it is Death to Smoochy is just this really odd film that doesn't feel like is the closest thing to a standard comedy you might have. So, like a lot of comedies, some of the jokes don't land, but some of them come out of nowhere. So out of nowhere, like when Smoochy winds up where he shouldn't be, getting disgraced, that are just so out of the blue. Your laughter might partially be nervous shock rather than the joke being actually funny, although that joke is absolutely hilarious. And yet, okay, seeing the obvious Barney the Dinosaur ripoff getting knocked about with crowbars is amusing in itself. And I know I know this review's a little all over the place, and it sounds like I can't make up my mind about Death to Smoochy, and if you think that, then you are absolutely right. I can't make up my mind about Death to Smoochy. And if you rang me next week and says, "Hey, let's have a couple of drinks and watch some Death to Smoochy," then I'd probably say yes. For the same reasons, if you asked me that question to watch Jonah Hex or Willy's Wonderland or Flash Gordon, they're absurd and will have you staring at the screen with your head cocked, wondering what in the hell you're actually watching. I mean, the end credits of Death to Smoochy are utterly and completely absurd. And maybe that's the word that probably best sums the film up. Robin Williams' manic performance is absurd. The lesbian hit squad is utterly absurd. The first appearance of Buggy Ding Dong, completely absurd. But I think the most absurd thing is I really feel like watching it again. And I think there's actually a recommendation in there. Your opinion may vary a little on the film because you might well not find it funny, might find it insulting and dumb. But you know, it's better than Ballerina. It's a very adult film. I almost wish it was more serious because I think I'd like to see a better version of this without the mob subplots and it just being a really dark, cynical takedown of the children's entertainment industry. But I think there is something in Death to Smoochy. I do think it might well be worth your while to give it a watch. I mean, you can get it on Amazon for a couple of quid. The DVD is probably going to cost you a quid from offline. So yeah, I think I'm recommending this. Give Death to Smoochy a try. Because I know I certainly will. It'll probably sit on my guilty pleasure shelf. But it's one of these things I just think, mildly intoxicated, you might get something out of seeing Robin Williams waving one-eyed weasels around. Right, that's Death to Smoochy. So the next one we've got is Spawn. And then I've also got The 13th Warrior and Tommyknockers to give a look over next week. So hopefully I'll be back mid next week with Spawn or Tommyknockers, depending which one I get round to watching first. We are now 90% of the way there with the funding. And what I've decided after some discussion with work colleagues is once we hit the £250 mark, then the money will be split then and will be passed on to We Are With You and the Shawbury Village players. And then if we make any more money on top of that, which I'm hoping we do, then I'm thinking that I will wait until I've done all the 100 films and then split again. Because I am conscious of the fact that the pandemic is still going on. And whilst I can't speak for We Are With You, I know the Village players really could use all the help they can get, given we're not able to put on productions at the moment. So that's what we're going to do. We are 25 quid off. That's it. I didn't think we'd actually get here, but here we are. So thank you, everyone who's donated. Thank you for continuing to give me films. I do need more. I've still got about 25 films left to round out the 100. And I might pop a couple in myself, just because there are films that I would like an opportunity in the soapbox to talk about. So not just things I hate, but things I genuinely love, or things that I think are really good to talk about. So inevitably, we're going to be looking at one of the Hobbit films in comparison to the Lord of the Rings, and we might look at a couple of little gems that not many people have seen. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe to the video, like it, and share it about. And we'll see you hopefully in a few days to talk about something else. So thank you for watching. See you then.